Hello, everybody. It is Joey here again on this Thursday night. Just got back from watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino's latest film. And it was just to start off the bat. It was it's really sweet. This review is going to be chock full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it and then come back and let me know what you think. But I am warning, this review will be full of spoilers. So you have been warned, there's going to be chock full of spoilers. I might start right off the bat with spoilers. So just a heads up. So this movie is essentially, and then you probably could tell that from the trailer if you watch the trailer, this movie is essentially a love letter to Hollywood in the late 60s, early 70s. Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate. There's a lot of notable figures in the movie. And then you have the fictional characters of Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Brad Pitt's character. The fantastic duo. I want to see them in everything. DiCaprio plays Rick Dalton, sort of an aging actor who's uncertain of the trajectory of his career and his life, and not sure if he really has the it factor anymore. And he starts questioning if he really is able to have the legs to take his career further, or if he's on a downturn spiral. And then he has his best friend and stuntman, Brad Pitt, who's Cliff Booth, who's just an all-around stuntman badass that it's just fun watching Brad Pitt just, kick some ass and, be sort of have the Brad Pitt coolness go on for almost 3 hours. And you get to see him do a lot of crazy, cool shit in this movie, which is freaking awesome. And this felt to me, Once Upon a Time felt a little different from other Tarantino movies, because this one, there's this, while his other movies have been nostalgic in a lot of the ways it is created and is manifested, this, having a period piece set in an era where all the films that inspired him happened was very interesting. You could see how precious it is to Tarantino and how wondrous it is. It's almost like Hollywood in the late 60s was this magical playground, of course with the seedy reality and underbelly of the Mansons sort of moving into this realm, this beautiful time in film. I mean, with all its caveats, the industry has a lot of darkness as well, and that is definitely hinted at in the film. And there's most of the characters you meet in this film are fairly likable. There's very few characters that you don't like, and again, the title kind of tells you what kind of film you're in for. And you see other Tarantino films and you kind of, what you're in for, but this is a different kind. It's a Tarantino film, but it has a different, it has a different texture to it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood indicates that we are entering into some sort of story or fairy tale, which it very much is. And again, I'm going to reiterate, this review is going to have a lot of spoilers, but we definitely enter into fairy tale territory. There's a lot of great stuff that happens, especially with Cliff Booth. The friendship of Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton, Leonardo and Brad Pitt's characters is just so fantastic to watch on screen. They're both just so good. They're just so good at it, and DiCaprio playing an actor who's struggling and not sure if his career is on a downward turn or which move he should make next is just great to watch. Even the scenes that linger, the scenes that go on a little bit too long, are just you kind of just soak it in. At least I did. It just kind of just, you just sit with it, and you're just watching an actor work. You're literally, this movie does a good job of kind of really taking out the sort of, for something that's supposed to be a fairy tale, it takes, it's very good at taking out the illusion of the actor. And you kind of just see an actor working as an actor acting. And you see, you just see almost like you see it in action. You see the development, you see the process, and there's plenty of other films that have done it, but I really love the way that DiCaprio did this and Tarantino did this in this film. It just felt very organic. It felt very genuine. Like everybody involved with certain scenes, and I mean the whole movie, but certain scenes, it just felt like, I really appreciate you and I get you. And that is especially true of stuntmen. And Tarantino movies are filled with stunt people. He probably hires, he's probably hired hundreds, if not, probably 1,000 stunt people in his tenure as a director. So Cliff Booth gets a lot to do in this film, and of course it's Brad Pitt, but highlighting the stuntman, the brother essentially of Dalton, it's a beautiful thing to watch, and you're basically seeing how these people are in Tarantino's eyes, how he appreciates them. I'm sure he has we know he has actors and probably stunt people that he just adores, and he appreciates everything they do, and he knows how important they are to film and have always been to film. And a friend of mine brought up a good point that his stunt people in his films always seem like they're superheroes, and it continues, that tradition continues in this film. And Cliff Booth is just a badass. He fights Bruce Lee at one point and is pretty much going toe to toe with him, which some people are upset about. They're like, you're dismissing the great Bruce Lee. But I think there's a lot of either people wanting to be mad, misinterpretation, or just sort of I don't know, just not getting it. And it's supposed to be fun. It's like playing with sort of action figures, and he's playing with these iconic people with iconic, histories, and he's just using them in ways that, they were probably involved in similar situations. And he used them in a fun way, and he didn't use them in a way that was dismissive or, as far as I see it, degrading. I don't know, I'm a white dude, so if there's something I could be missing something, but everything seemed very playful, very genuine, and done with a layer of love. And this all goes, everything, the guys in this movie do a fantastic job, DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. But Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate is just, people argue that there's not enough of her in this film. But I was concerned at first when I started hearing that, but now I get why. I understand why there's not a whole lot of Margot Robbie in this film and Sharon Tate, and it's not really Sharon Tate's story in a sense, and it's a little bit of revisionist history, and I think it's done very beautifully, and it's Sharon Tate was just this sort of, she was almost the embodiment of like sort of, I don't want to say pure innocence, because she was a human being. She did stuff, but she was from my understanding, just very genuine, very light, very beautiful, caring person that loved what she did, loved the people around her. Of course, not a perfect human, but she was a good person, as far as I know. And from the version we saw of Margot Robbie, she's very sweet and kind and very, she's a fun woman. And what Tarantino did with this film is he gave her, I'm getting teary-eyed because I think it was very beautiful. He kind of gave her a second chance in this film. not even a second chance. He just kind of removed the trauma that she faced and her family would face afterward, and he kind of just removed that. For like, once upon a time in Hollywood, there was this group of sort of lost souls that, you know, fell under the spell, the wickedness of this man, and committed a senseless crime, mostly because they wanted to, and they were just not right and sick, and they killed a beautiful soul, like they did. And in this, that innocence isn't lost. There's a world where that doesn't happen, and that innocence is not destroyed in a night because some kids were feeling like they just wanted to do something bad, or they felt sort of self-righteous about something, and I didn't really consider the impact it would have on lives to this day, obviously. So from what I've read, I think Tate's family liked what happened, and I'm sure they wish it's what did happen in a sense, and that nothing ever did happen to Sharon. She got to live out, her life, and with her kids, and whomever she chose to be with, and maybe Hollywood would have kept this. She was just such a pure. I don't want to even say pure. She was just sort of an innocent, genuine soul in a lot of the chaos and sort of debauchery and just this darkness happening at the time. And there's a scene of some of the Manson kids talking about how when they grew up on TV, and all it was murdering, and so they want to murder the people that made them want to murder, which is of course a ridiculous notion that a bunch of drug addicts and lost souls and sick people would come to without really any sort of further rational thought, and they destroy lives. But in this, the lives aren't destroyed, and these senseless, it's just tragic because these kids are just they are just obviously very sick and a mess. But there's the scene in Rick Dalton's house, where basically they come in and they try to kill Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton and his wife, and basically insanity, hilarity ensues in this big sort of battle, bloodbath kind of thing that happens that everybody in the theater was losing their minds, cracking up about, and it was awesome to watch in the theater. This movie is just watching the theater. It is a movie to watch, it is made to watch in the theater. And I say that a lot about movies, but this is a movie's movie. This is like a movie for people that love going to the movies, love film, love classic film, love are some of the greatest working actors today. Pacino is in the movie. Timothy Olyphant is in the movie. Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, DiCaprio, Dakota Fanning is in the movie. Uma Thurman's daughter, Maya Hawke, who we know is from Stranger Things now. She's from Stranger Things fame. She's in the movie. And Maya Hawke is very, she's fantastic, and I'm very excited to see where her career goes, and I'm glad we're seeing her a lot this year so far. Also, Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn, makes an appearance as well. There's just a lot of people in this movie. And I don't want to go on and on about everything in this movie, but I can because it is beautiful. The sound work is fantastic. They use a lot of old sound effects, and even in the movie itself, there's cutbacks to sort of classic looking film and TV shows, and they use the effects they use in those scenes are fantastic. I don't know if they got the original film and cameras that they used to shoot those shows and those movies. It looked like they did. It looked really great. I'm sure you could emulate it on a computer on an editing suite, but I feel like Tarantino would have gone the extra level and tried to shoot it on the original film. And if he did, even more props to him. Audio was fantastic. The editing was fantastic. Even when you felt the scene was moving kind of slow, and there were slower scenes, but like I said before, you're so enveloped because it's just like this gushing love for these classic films and this classic era of film, and just the nuance of it and all the things that were great about it, or the things that weren't so great about it. It's just very nuanced, and it's just the love Tarantino brought to this era. Of course, it's not a perfect era, but that was his childhood. These are things that, movies I watched as a kid, and I still watch. It's just there's just like sort of just, I don't even want to say nostalgia, but there's just sort of artistic immaculate purity to that era. It was just like this booming age of film and TV where just people were doing all sorts of stuff, and all these big names, big actors that we still, that are household names today and still hold up, first got their start or were first coming up. And it's really Tarantino gushing about this, and, writing a little bit of revisionist history, because just imagine a Hollywood where Sharon Tate, nothing happens to her. And she goes on with her life, and she's able to, be in more movies, or maybe make movies, or, it's this just beautiful thought, like this big what if. And, there's plenty of Tarantino action, but the film is very funny, and I was honestly moved. I mean, I'd love to hear other people's opinions about this film, but as somebody that loves film, I love to watch somebody make a film that really loves film as well. And I don't feel like you get that sort of just genuine gushing passion and love for film so blatantly obvious in a movie anymore. Everything is sort of just done. And not to say there isn't no passion and real genuine passion in filmmaking, but this was just a sort of a very well done love letter to that era of film and film in general. And Tarantino, I mean, it's a Tarantino movie, but it feels like Tarantino just sort of taking a bird's eye view and sort of, again, sort of creating this what if scenario, and like, what if there was this really sort of confused, mixed, sort of weird in his career actor with this very like close best buddy in Cliff Booth, and they're basically inseparable. Let's see. I see a comment here. What were your predictions for a Yogi Bear film? I'm not going to go into that now, but thank you for your comment. Yeah, I really adored this movie. I think I'm going to go see it again. It is quite long, but I think it is worth it. Very beautifully shot, edited. Again, sound was great. Soundtrack was phenomenal. I was dancing along in the seat. And I going back to Margot Robbie, I think the fact that most of us going in knows what happens to Sharon Tate, and having that sort of just I want to be sort of careful with the word. Having that sort of history in there adds this level of tension to the film. That is, you're like, what is, if you knew dates, there's a lot of stuff for people that know when things occurred, or know people that were involved tangentially, or there's just a lot in there for people that are big fans of the era or grew up in the era. There's plenty of Easter eggs and little things, little notes and hints, and just things happening on in the background and around, throughout the film that you'll really appreciate. And it's obvious that it's a very large love letter, but I think the tension that just having Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate in the film brings to the whole movie. I was just sort of, anytime you saw like Margot Robbie on the screen just being so blissful and joyous about, being part of this, and her life is going well, and she's in these movies, and people are enjoying her movies, and people are saying there wasn't enough Margot Robbie. I'm always for more Margot Robbie and her doing enough, but I think she did, her place in the film, it was exactly what it needed to be, in my opinion. I think having, Sharon Tate be there and sort of people knowing what happened adds, there's this whole story in the film that people already know. There's, Sharon Tate she's not some unknown person. The people know about her, and they know about her life and what happened. So I don't think it was totally necessary to show more, to show that using Margot Robbie. You just know, Sharon Tate, you know her story. So this isn't her story. She's there. She's part of it. And ultimately it is, I don't want to even say the word saving, but saving Hollywood. It's just this nice little what if. I think it's very sweet. It's very loving. It's like what if there were these two crazy brothers, best friends / brothers, that thwarted these mixed up kids in the most insane, comedic, funny way possible. Just like, Tarantino there's like sort of this comedic anger to the scenes with those kids. It's just like they're a bunch of silly kids that don't really know what they're doing. They're following this other crazy dude, and I just think it was very beautiful. I think the movie was very sweet, and it seemed very genuine. And I think I was with guys and gals and people in between, and everybody seemed to like it, and they seemed to like what it did. And they seemed, everybody was a little teary-eyed, and there were people in the theater that were just like smiling on the way out. And it was, Tarantino endings sometimes are happy, or they're some sort of satisfying at least. And this was both. It was like, yeah, that's nice. Just imagine, like, there's this bunch of crazy shit that happens, and it all like sort of equates to Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth. Thank you for following, Crispy Kitsune. Thank you. It all sort of just ends up compounding and leading to them sort of I don't want to say save, because they didn't save her directly, but sort of diverting a potential ill fate for Sharon in a very comedic and bloody fashion, Tarantino fashion, and it's just so satisfying to know that I wish this happened, because she deserved to live a full life, and it's very sad she didn't, and it's sad and it's happy at the same time, because you're just like, I just wish that she had time, and I wish it didn't happen. I wish these kids weren't so mixed up in the Manson's crazy mess. And I'm getting emotional because it's very sad, and the movie was very sweet, and it leaves you kind of torn. So I really loved it. I honestly did love it, and I want to see it again, and I will buy the Blu-ray when it comes out. And I think if Tarantino makes another film that sort of has the same sort of empathy and love for, brings in these very lovable, goofy, complicated characters that are funny and strong and weak, and just great in all the right ways. There's just so much more to be said, but I just wanted to get to the core of it, and I really thought this movie was very sweet. And I'm not gonna. There was very little I didn't like about it. The only problem I would say is it is long, but it's warranted. It all feels full. It feels like a fairy tale. And unfortunately, it's like sort of that. Unfortunately, it is a fairy tale. This is all a fairy tale, and you wish it was real, as you would some fairy tales. But this is, once upon a time in Hollywood, there was there were these two brothers and a very, a very loved woman and very talented and funny and compassionate woman that just did not, she lived, basically. She lived at the end of this fairy tale. And we know the reality is so much darker and sadder and needless. But I'm not going to go on. I'm not going to depress everybody. But I would suggest you go see it if you haven't. And I hope you have, because I just ruined the whole movie for you if you hadn't. But if you have and want to discuss, want to refute anything, please leave comments on this video. I would love to discuss it at length with you guys in the comments, and maybe in a further video. And if you're new to the channel, follow or subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you know when I go live or post new videos. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in and listening to me ramble and get sort of mushy about this story, because I think it was well told, and maybe I'm just sentimental. And I have a hard time breaking down movies very technically. Technically it was great, but I can't just I have a hard time just cutting apart movies. I cannot do that. I feel like it takes away from the film, so I'm not going to do that with this, and I don't think it's warranted. A story is a story. I don't think it's deserving of being picked apart like that. At least this one isn't. Alright guys, I shall talk to you later. It's kind of late. It's already midnight. I'll talk to you later. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. And I'll see you later. Bye.